I'm Empire State Rails and you're watching Disney Channel. Just kidding, you're watching my channel. Today, I'm going to be going over some iconic scenes in film and television about trains. I've been an avid rail fan for years. Ever since I was a kid, I love trains, but I'm also a huge movie buff. So today, we're going to be looking at some of those great scenes in films. A lot of the times, especially with lower budget movies, you can really tell that there's not a lot of care or attention put into these scenes and everything. That can go for a variety of reasons. Sometimes when it's not the center of the story, there's obviously not going to be a bunch of attention to detail and things like that. But however, sometimes the problem is when it is the centerpiece of the movie, which is going to be the case of some examples in this video, when there is no attention to detail and it's incredibly unrealistic, not only does it throw it off for rail fans, but even simple small mistakes, sometimes the general movie audience will also be able to point them out too. Our first clip today is going to be from 1995's Money Train, featuring Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes, directed by Joseph Rubin.
What happens if we just throw this damn thing in reverse?
Traction motor has a heart attack, train does a 40-ton somersault.
But we live, right?
No, they live, we die.
So be it. We hit the reverse switch and say goodbye. At least there's no surprises.
Oh, no.
So just some context on what's actually happening in the movie right now. What's happening is Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson are two ex-Transit Authority police officers, and they're here to hijack the Money Train. Now, the Money Train is actually a service that was around from the creation of the subway system in 1904 till around the 1990s or the early 2000s. And it was basically a 2 or 3 car train of ex-passenger cars that they retrofitted to have things like, desks and cabinets and everything, so that during the nighttime, what they would do is they would go from station to station collecting the subway tokens. And if you don't know what subway tokens are, that's what they used before Metro cards. And every night, the train would go around making its trip to each station, collecting the money from the ticket booth. Now, this movie has a highly fictionalized version of its operation and the train itself. So the one similarity I think that they actually keep is that ex-passenger car collects money. But that's about it. This movie shows that there's a, I don't want to say privatized, but a heavily militarized police force, like a task force squad that protects this train as they go from station to station, which never happened. I don't think there was even a single police officer on the actual Money Train. There might have been one, I'm not too sure. But from the videos, it's just normal transit authority workers just collecting the money. It was never really a concern that someone was going to hijack or steal the Money Train. And so this movie also, the passenger car itself, one thing I'll give them for is that they used ex-R33 subway cars in real life, and they also use an ex-R33 subway car in this movie. However, in this movie, it has bulletproof windows, it's heavily steel-plated, and it has guns and assault rifles and freaking sirens on it for no reason. You're in a subway tunnel. Why would you need flashing lights?
We don't have time for this, all right? They run out of time.
Just jump, man.
Jump! What the f*** jump? I'm in a motherfucking tunnel.
Doesn't take two of us to do this. It's my fault, my responsibility, my
No. We're in this together. We stay together. Oh, now you gonna pole vault out this motherfucker?
autopilot. When this hits, it'll throw her into reverse. What the hell are you doing?
I don't know.
Where the hell is my train?
It's coming in, sir.
Good. How long?
2 minutes out.
That's what I want to hear.
When we get out of this, remind me. Don't let go!
The front! Get to the front! Oh my God!
So here we go. So there's a lot to unpack from just that scene alone. What we witnessed was total and utter chaos and inaccuracy, the likes of which I've never seen in maybe anything else besides probably The Knowing with Nicolas Cage. Probably rivals the inaccuracy. This movie is insane. So, first off, when they're ducking underneath the lights and everything, there's no lights that are over the tracks, and there's not even that much headroom above, between the roof of the subway car and the tunnel anyway. So they wouldn't have even been able to climb or be on their feet. They would have just been crawling the whole way, the whole time. They would not have been able to make that jump, A. And B, the whole 40-ton somersault thing, I'm going to show some pictures right here of actual subway crashes, and you'll notice something similar is that the subway cars are all mangled when they get derailed. Because of the steel pillars in place, those things are built to literally hold up the streets and the buildings above them. There's no way that a subway car, even a heavily armored one or something, would have been able to knock down that many pillars, maybe one or two, but it still would have been totally mangled like the picture shown here. And if that had happened, let's say all those pillars were knocked down and everything that easily, the whole street and all the buildings above it would have came crashing down. You would have killed hundreds of people and caused serious structural damage had that actually occurred. It's Prospect Park, right? So it's Brooklyn. So granted, it's not 6th Avenue or something like that where you're going to get mass casualties. No, I take that back. You're going to get a lot of dead people if something like this were to happen. First of all, not even the Prospect Park station. A, B, it's just so, it's so crazy. That's not how it would work. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but the other thing you'll notice too is it's so obviously a miniature because it moves in a way that a subway train would not derail. It would derail. It would not even do a somersault. It might go on its side, but it's not going to continuously spin and then slide along. It's just not. There's no physics in this movie too, just as much as there is no realism. Speaking of realism, let's take a look at this prick, who's the villain of the movie. And trust me, if you think Marvel villains are bad and two-dimensional, you have not seen this movie. This guy is unrealistically evil for no reason. They don't even say what he is. I don't know if he's the chief of the Trains Authority Police, if he runs just the money train, which isn't a thing, or if he's the head of the MTA. I really have no clue, but he doesn't care if so many people die. He just wants the money. I don't understand. You could collect the money from the ticket booth in so many other ways. He's just unrealistically, stupidly evil. Next up, we have Cecil DeMille's 1952 spectacle, The Greatest Show on Earth.
Wait till the engine's passed. the door and don't try anything.
So basically what's happening here is this train was stopped because these two people in the car actually robbed the circus train. Now, if you don't know, the greatest show on earth was the motto or the nickname for the Ringling Brothers Circus. Now, you might have seen them when you were a kid, but they went out of business 3 years ago. I think it was 2018, 2019. And how they would get around the country is they had this circus train, and they used it ever since they were created, and they used it till the day they closed. So it is true that there were circus trains. This is extremely accurate, actually. Whether or not they'd get robbed, different story. Trains usually weren't really robbed like it was the Wild West in the 1950s. However, this person, this blonde guy here, has a relationship with one of the women on the train. She's in the circus too, and basically, as they stop this train, it kind of comes to fruition. Oh my gosh, we stopped this train on the middle of the line. Did not alert the signalman. Nobody knows this train has stopped. And so there's also a train that's barreling right towards the end of it, which would cause a major, major collision. So he comes over and he's like, stop. Oh my gosh. Stop, and so because it was the 50s, they were steam trains and everything being hauled. That's not inaccurate or anything, and there were circus trains.
Get going. We gotta burn rubber.
What's that?
Second section.
Angel. She's on that train.
So what? We got the dough. Let's get out of here.
The lights. I must turn the lights down the track.
Crazy lunkhead. Give me that wheel.
They're going to turn the lights down the track. The train! Stop the train! Stop the train! Stop! Can't you see the lights? Stop! Third section, big hole! Angel!
Kind of uninformed or don't really know anything about movie visual effects, some of you might have thinking, and I even looked at the comments of this scene, some people think that this was actually all kind of done, this was all a large-scale crash that they did, which isn't true. I can understand how, maybe younger people might think that, but it's a mix of miniatures and a real set. So basically what they did was they had this miniature set here. You have the trains, you have the circus train, and you have the kind of train that's barreling towards the circus train on this stretch of model railroad track. I couldn't tell you the scale, but it could be O scale, it could be G scale, it could be anything. Probably not HO or smaller, because just something getting this much detail in the HO scale is really hard to do, and so it was probably O scale or G scale or higher. So with this miniature set of track that they had built, they detailed it and everything to have, this road and the countryside and the trees to hide the backdrop and everything. And then what they do is, afterwards, they build a real-size version of the set, but only a portion of the track in a soundstage in Hollywood. So it's only the back end of that train, just the caboose, and just that little road crossing that they have there. And what they do is they just mix the scenes, and they built the soundstage to look exactly like the miniature version, except it was blown up. And then for the scenes that they have the miniatures interacting with the people and everything, it's just very simple stuff. Before green screens and everything, they would just project the image. They would just project the image on a wall behind them, and so that's how you get the view of the locomotive cab and the guy in the car screaming and flailing his arms around. It's just a projected image behind them, and they're just kind of standing still. One thing that this gets right compared to other movies that I've seen, and that we're going to see later on this video, is that the physics of it is much more realistic, not exactly, but much more realistic to a train crash than how Hollywood usually does it. They'll usually have flying train cars, as we saw in Money Train, is spiraling out of control, 40-ton somersault, that's what they call it, which you don't get. Even in movies like Super 8 as well, they just go flying through the sky. People sort of kind of forget just how heavy train cars are and locomotives are. They weigh tons. You know, for example, the Union Pacific Big Boy weighs more than 8 Abrams tanks. That's pretty freaking heavy. So they're not flying out of control here. They're just coming off and they're being crushed because the head locomotive and the barreling locomotive are just kind of squeezing these two trains together, and so they kind of come up with this jagged zigzag sort of shape as they just kind of derail and collapse over and smash into each other. Now we're going to be looking at an all-time train film classic. We're going to be looking at 2010's Unstoppable, directed by Tony Scott. This absolute blockbuster is amazing. It mixes so well action and adventure with railroading so well. It's like Air Force One, kind of, with Harrison Ford, except take away the plane and Harrison Ford. So this movie, it's pretty freaking epic.
Looks like Marine Ryan Scott's been injured.
It's a no-go.
Slow down!
Just keep braking, try to slow. Try to get 777 off the main. Switch has been thrown.
Slow down, goddammit! Don't side it yet, it's going too fast.
Now, one of the things I will say before we continue with this scene is that this is not Tony Scott's fault. This is the fault of the editing department, because there's just blatant continuity errors, which I talked about before in the beginning of this video was going to happen. Just blatant continuity errors. What this scene loves, and what happens in other parts of the movie too, is it rolls back the footage almost. So you'll see the same clip repeated over and over again. You'll cut to a scene of the train. So basically you have 777, the Runaway, and then you have this other train, so the gray train, and we have 777, right? And the gray train it's right in front of it. It's directly in front of it, and yet somehow what they'll do is, you know, in the next scene, it'll have distance in front of it, and then before you know it, it's on a separate track, which wouldn't make any sense. The thing is that in order for the train to actually make the switch at the junction, there has to be enough time to switch the tracks between the siding and the main line. However, with these trains right on top of each other, there's no way you could do that. In fact, listen, if they wanted to derail 777, that's probably the way they should have just done it. Instead of a portable derailer or something like that, what they could have just done was just switch the tracks so that it wouldn't be aligned. Also, when these tracks are lightning fast aligned, somehow 777 still pushes the gray train forward so fast that it skids off into the siding. But if they're not on the same track, there's not going to be that coupler to coupler connection because it's already on a different track. even though Unstoppable is based on true events, this did not happen in real life. No one would ever be this dumb to actually try this out in real life. So basically what the issue was here, if no one really picked it up, is that when you have this unstoppable force, really something that's not good is standing in front of it and trying to almost push it back. And in trains, that's not really how you probably would stop a runaway train. You don't want something in front of it, something where the runaway is just going to push against it. Especially when it comes to that sighting, it is going to go too fast, and you are going to have something like that. And the reason why that was such a good-looking train crash is because they actually crashed this train in real life. It was behind the scenes of how they did it, and it's amazing. One of the things Tony Scott does is he didn't CGI that stuff. Tony Scott also directed Top Gun, too. Everything he does is really practical work and everything. So this train derailment looks that good because he actually had the balls to derail this train. That's why it's so awesome. Now, like I said before, it was based on true events. 777 is actually based on the Crazy 8s incident. Now, in the early 2000s, a CSX locomotive in, I believe it was Ohio, something like this also happened. However, it was not going at this high speed, and there was no threat of a curve that would knock into this. I think in the movie it's like these oil facilities that would blow up the whole town. Nothing like that. However, a runaway train is still obviously a very big issue, and they take little bits and pieces. Thank God in real life this did not happen. No one actually died from the Crazy 8s incident, and however, that does not change the fact that this is still a really awesome train scene. And not only is it awesome, not only is it cool, but it's accurate, and that's the best part. And now time for one of my least favorite scenes. Originally, this was going to be a scene from a cable TV show. However, it was taken off of YouTube. I can't seem to find it anymore. It was really awful. It was like a steam locomotive and a bullet train in a tunnel, and they were crashing, and it was just really dumb. It's supposed to be futuristic. I don't know what it was. I really don't. If someone could find me that clip, please, please, please drop the link in the comments, because it was so awful. It actually gave me an aneurysm just because of how fucking terrible it was. So instead, we're looking at the next worst thing. We're going to be looking at Liam Neeson's The Commuter that came out in 2018. Let's take a watch.
Marshal service ready for us. Take the statement at the safe house, no screwing around.
Right off the bat, this is England. This is a British train station. It's pretty apparent that this is a British train station. You can tell from little things like the yellow line and how the station platform actually is, the lack of signage and everything, the station shelters, a little of those small details that I immediately knew, okay, this is England and not upstate New York. This is supposed to take place on the Hudson line of the Metro North, except it's not the Metro North, it's some fake commuter railroad that they took over. And I think it's supposed to be right before Beacon, New York. So yeah, it's just they filmed this in England. It sucks. This whole movie sucks. Don't watch it.
Why is it not stopping? I don't know. Sam, I swear I had nothing to do with this.
Manny!
Oh, man, that's not good.
Oh, my God. Help me get this open! Shit!
I don't get it. Why don't they just break the glass window? It's not like that's unbreakable or something. You could have just broken in, stepped in and stopped the train. Here's another thing. Runaway trains, runaway trains are possible, but I believe on commuter railroads like the Metro North, and one thing I know for sure is that on the subway, they have these things called stickers or stoppers or something like that. And basically, if a train goes by a red signal, it trips the brakes and they stop. That's why Spider-Man 2 is an extremely unrealistic runaway train scene. However, I'm giving it a pass because I love Spider-Man 2. But getting back to this pile of dog shit, basically, there's so many things wrong here. So this is a CGI train. I'm not even... It looks like it's based off the Comet 1 or 2 models. I don't know if it's a DMU or an EMU. However, it's like a made-up design, and it's CG, and it's just off a set. That's why it looks really wide. That's why it looks really fake. So yeah, like I said, this was supposed to be based off the Metro North. So yeah, it's this runaway train, and it's like this mix of Saw and maybe Pelham 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I really don't know. This movie sucks. It's garbage. I don't really know how much I can say about that. It's so boring. Liam Neeson's a bad actor. Anyway. So, I really don't know what the hell just happened. So, everyone's in the last car of the train, and they decouple the train from they decouple the last car from the rest of the train. Okay, all right. So then they could probably. Honest to God, I don't know, but whatever. The rest of the speeding train is going to go on without the last car. That's fine. The last car will slow down eventually. Maybe they'll use a handbrake or something like that. If there is one, I don't know. This movie is so crazy that I wouldn't be surprised. Wait a minute. If this is the last car, there should be a cab on that end too that they could access and actually brake from there. But how much do you want to bet that they didn't know that, and that's not going to be in this? I'll bet $5. I'll bet $5 right now. But so you really couldn't do that. There's no way you could not uncouple a train. It's so whack. It's not really how you release a knuckle coupler at all. You can't pull apart the sort of I don't want to call it the gate, but that protective covering that's sealed between each car. You can't really just pull that back and just hang off the freaking end of the train and kick a brake pin out to release the coupler of the train. But
The chain is caught!
chain? What chain? What f***ing chain?
You need more leverage! I'll get the axe!
Between the train and the people, I always knew it'd be the train.
Where did they get that from? What the fuck even is that? Also, one measly chain is not gonna hold together two train cars. What the f*** did I just see? Here we go again with the flying train cars. Would not happen. Would not happen. Also, this looks nothing like Beacon. This looks nothing like Beacon, New York. Not even close. Are you kidding me? It's a riverside town. It's not. It doesn't have a whole fucking train yard there. Maybe it has a curve, but that's about it. It's not a normal railroad crossing. The FRA would have a field day with just that railroad crossing alone. No gates. No gates. What was that white ass? What was that wonky ass? And again, with the train skidding too. Look at that. Look at that. There you go. Alright. Okay. With the train skidding and everything, multi-track drifting, that would not happen. It would just kind of stop. There would not be these flying train cars or these big there might be a big explosion, but probably not. In all honesty, it would just kind of come off to the side, and they would all skid, and they would all just be on its side, and really, just the whole thing of it. I mean, why wouldn't that not fall to its side too? Why would it skid and stay sort of grounded? It just doesn't make... Who the wrote this? It's like they've never seen or taken a train before. I understand. If I have a... Look, here's a boxcar. If I have a boxcar attached to this, these weigh so much. I'm gonna Google. Let's see how much the average boxcar weighs. So basically, Google says that a boxcar can weigh up to 25 tons. And let's just assume that's probably gonna be the same weight as a commuter car. Do you really think one measly chain from Home Depot, by the way, why is there even a chain anyway? That's what couplers are for. Do you really think a measly chain would really hold something that's going at 70 miles an hour to just a normal car? You really think that would hold these two together? It would just snap off already, and then it would just be drifting off the tracks while this one flies off. And when I mean flies off, I mean it would just turn on its side and skid for a little bit. It would not be doing these crazy ass somersaults this movie depicts. It's insanity. No one takes physics class anymore. No one's taking a train. No one does an ounce of research. The CGI looks like garbage. Beacon is not a 5-track train facility. That's going to have to do it for today, folks. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you want to see more. If you have any clips that you want to show, maybe it's from a video game too, maybe it's from a TV show or a cartoon, drop a link in the comments below, and maybe if this does good enough, I'll make a second one and I'll use your clips. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good day.